But if I say I am, I get it. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. It's Wednesday. It's hard to downshift from the Who into the Cure like that, but I am a professional. Picks of the week. So something of a light week, only $100. This well, I guess I'll do that one last. First up this week, let's see. All right, The Marvels #1. I thought I'd give a Marvel comic book a try for a change. So I'm not 100% on this, but it's quite obviously within the same. Well, I don't know. All right, so back in like the late '90s, Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross did a book called Marvels, which was a story of the entire Marvel universe from the Silver Age on. Well, actually, from the Golden Age on. It starts with the Human Torch, the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond, flaming android, and moves it all the way to the late '90s. And it's told like the story's told as though it's in real time. So it starts with the Human Torch. It moves to the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and the Avengers and the X-Men, and then into the 70s ago. You know, to be honest, it's been so long since I've read it. It's a really good book, and it's widely considered a classic. And Alex Ross, as an artist, is very popular because he does these paintings, like this cover. He did the cover. Yildiray Cinar did the art, but he's good too. And so this, I think, is just, I didn't, like, as usual, I didn't read too much into it, but I think these are just like kind of one-shot stories. It'll be a mini-series, but these are just kind of standalone stories. Because I do think it is, since I don't think Marvel's is considered to be 616 continuity, that is to say mainstream Marvel continuity. I think it's now at this point kind of like the Max Universe did and other, you know, what's the alternate timelines or dimensions or whatever. Because nobody ages in 616 continuity, but everybody ages in this one. But yeah, it'll be fun. It's a real ringing endorsement. I picked it for this because honestly there wasn't a whole lot of other #1s. There's a lot of just series that I've already talked about. But it will be good. Kurt Busiek has not been writing a ton. He wrote that Namor miniseries for King in Black. That's the first thing I've read by him in a while, it feels like. He was doing Astro City on kind of the reg on Vertigo for a good long while, but I kind of I like Astro City, but I kind of like it in small doses. But yeah, it's good to read Busiek again. Here's another one I got. This is Miles Morales: Spider-Man #25. The beginning of Miles' Clone Saga. Oh, good. The original Clone Saga is pretty overrated, if you ask me. But nobody has. So I've been a big fan of Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man, for a long time, since his first appearance in Ultimate Fallout #4, which I do own, thank you. But once Brian Michael Bendis left the book, I stopped buying it monthly. I've been reading it on the app, but I stopped buying it monthly because I had the full run of Brian Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man, counting the trade. I don't have, unfortunately. Those early Ultimate Spider-Man issues are worth a lot of money now, but I just have them in trade paperback. But I do have, if you count trade paperbacks, which I do, I have a complete run of Ultimate Spider-Man up until Saladin Ahmed took over. And he's a good writer, and I enjoy his work on Ms. Marvel, but it was the same deal when G. Willow Wilson left Ms. Marvel. There's nothing against Saladin Ahmed, but I was just like, I kind of really am attached to those writers with those characters. And honestly, most, like, the Ms. Marvel and Miles Morales books that Saladin Ahmed is writing is really good, but those characters in other hands generally not as good. But the main reason I started buying this isn't because I'm really that interested in Clone Saga, because I'm not. Carmen Carnero is drawing this, and Carmen Carnero has been Marvel. Every year Marvel does a thing where they have this like class of, right, and they always have like Young Guns or some dumb name like that. I think there's Stormbreakers this year. Stormbreakers 2021 or whatever the hell. And so it'll be artists, a lot of the time it'll be artists that I'm already kind of familiar with because they've been working for a little bit, but in some cases not so much. So Carmen Carnero was drawing Captain Marvel, which I also don't read, I don't read very many female superhero fronted books because I hate and fear women like all comic book collectors. No, it is one of those things where I very much, as a boy, I very much bought into the notion that girl superheroes are for girls. So I never really read any of them. If they were on the Fantastic Four or the X-Men or something, that was different. That's not, I don't consciously make my purchasing decisions based on that anymore. But it is true that there are a real dearth of interesting female characters. Captain Marvel has never really been, Carol Danvers has never been one of my favorites. Ms. Marvel was great when they made Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel. I have that whole run from, I think I have her first appearance. That's probably worth some bread. Right up until G. Willow Wilson left, there were 2 series Ms. Marvel, and they're great. I really like Ms. Marvel as a character. But yeah, a lot of the other ones that Marvel does, like Captain Marvel, I never read Squirrel Girl. I read some of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. That was fun. But like Ironheart, I really like that character Ironheart, but that series from last year or the year before, P.U. And I don't like to, sorry, I'm out of frame. I don't like to, I try to not yuck anyone's yum. I try not to, if I got nothing nice to say, to not say it at all. But it is a sad state of affairs that there's not that many. And I don't think it's just me. I think I'm trying to stay open-minded to it. So having said all that, Carmen Carnero is drawing for Captain Marvel, and I only just started reading them on the app, and holy Mary! First of all, it is true that Carmen Carnero is extremely hot, but if she weren't, I wouldn't be as excited. Or no, if she weren't hot, I would still be as excited because her art is incredible. So I'm not going to show you any right now because I want to save it for myself. But if you haven't read any of her stuff, I would highly recommend it. And finally this week, what put me over the edge, Friends of the Devil, a Reckless book. This is volume 2 in the Reckless series by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Last summer, I want to say it was like August or September, maybe even, they put out the first volume, which was just called Reckless. So this takes place, this one's in 85. So the first one took place in 1981. It's really, really good private eye noir stories in the inimitable fashion of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. The first one was so good. I'm a huge Brubaker Phillips guy, have been since Sleeper, which is 20 years now, something like that. Yeah, I think 01 was the first, I don't remember, but it's been a long time. And they haven't, it's mostly crime, which is absolutely fine by me. I mean, they did do like Fatale, which had a kind of horror aspect to it, but it was still essentially, everything they do is pretty noir. So this is just, I keep saying just like there's all there is to it. It's a private eye story set in Los Angeles. This was in the 80s, like in the 80s, like I've been saying. And I don't know, there's nothing else to say. It's $25, which is kind of a not ridiculous price for a hardcover. It bummed me out because Barry Windsor Smith also put out a book called Monsters this week, which is $40 hardcover, which is like 3 times as thick, which I just couldn't afford to get them both. So I had Warren order me another copy. He's got one left in the store, but I was like, I can't do it today, unfortunately. I can't even really afford these. But I had to because they are picks of the week. And now maybe on picks of last week, BD Badoo Badoo. Okay. Gosh, I still have a lot of work to do today, but I really just want to sit and read that Reckless. Where's the other thing? Oh, well, he gives a poop. Okay, so last week I read The Old Guard, Tales Through Time. This is fine. This is really... Okay, so there's 2 stories, and this will be a mini-series of 6. A mini-series. This is kind of like an anthology with these characters. Again, the premise is that there's a band of warriors called the Old Guard. They've been soldiers for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They're immortal. And they've done 2 comic book series and also a Netflix series, which I still haven't watched. So I don't know if they're doing this one to sort of cash in on that. And I certainly don't, when it comes to Rucka and Fernandez trying to make a little more money off of this, I got no problems with that. But if I'm being 1,000,000% honest, which I rarely am, this is completely missable. The first story in this by Rucka and Fernandez, who's an incredible, Leandro Fernandez and an insanely good artist. And I really, really like, especially, that definitely happens more in indie books, and that's always been the case. So the creative teams don't really change. The second story is written and drawn by a completely different creative team, and it was also, both stories are fine. The art in both is fine, although Fernandez's art is just, he's like R.M. Guerra, one of those artists, like very European, like modern European, where these guys all kind of, they all, kind of suckle at the teat of Mobius, which is a good thing, but they've all also kind of brought their own. And it's also, what's his name? God, I keep buying Moonshine mostly because of the artist. Now I can't think of his name. But he also drew 100 Bullets. It's Azareo and Riso, Eduardo Riso, who is South American, but still has kind of a European style. Anyway, I'll probably pick up the rest of this, but I won't be happy about it. I'm just kidding. It's good. I think I might actually trade weight it, though, because it is getting, I do need to cut back. I also read Way of X #1. This was a lot of fun. This is essentially what I thought it was, which is Nightcrawler is essentially trying to start a church, a religion for mutants, which makes sense because he's the most pious of all the X-Men. But I'm trying to remember what else is going on. Yeah, so there is a, oh, that's right. So since on Krakoa now, they have the technology to bring mutants back from the dead. So a lot of mutants are like, well, what difference does it make what we do? We can do whatever we want. And Nightcrawler for one thing is like, there's something extra shitty going on with this. Like there's something just, and a lot of mutants that have been depowered are now also trying to come back. So I don't know what that's doing. Right, so there is like some sort of boogeyman living on Krakoa that the children are calling the Patchwork Man, and he poses some, vague, ominous spiritual threat. And since Nightcrawler is the most spiritual of the X-Men, Professor X is like, hey, why don't you do it? And Nightcrawler's like, sure. Chuck? Actually, Chuck is what Wolverine calls him. Where's the sign that says Wednesday I'm in Love on it? I'm going to need that eventually. Oh, who cares? All right, so that's it. I did kind of want to keep it brief today. How have you been? Oh, okay, good. It doesn't matter. All right, bye.